Welcome back to the Taiwanology podcast. This is your host, Kwangyin from Taiwan's CommonWealth magazine. Today, we're talking about one of Taiwan's most controversial but also unavoidable questions, that is nuclear power. Over the past decade, Taiwan has voted more than once on whether to keep or phase out nuclear power. In the most recent referendum that took place at the end of August, turnout fell short of the threshold, but what stood out is this. More than 5 million people cast their ballots, and over 70% voted in favor of extending the life of the third nuclear power plant, which stopped operations in May following 40 years of service. On paper, the vote didn't really count, but in practice, it showed something very important, that public opinion in Taiwan may be shifting, and the timing really matters. Taiwan imports over 97% of its energy. In an era of growing cross-strait tension, global supply chain disruptions, and intensifying geopolitical risks, energy isn't just about electricity, it's about national security. Around the world, countries that once stepped away from nuclear, like Japan and the US, seem to be rethinking it. Could Taiwan be next? That's the question we're trying to answer today. To dig into this, I'm joined by Dr. Danny Chang. He is an expert in electrical engineering and semiconductors. He also has dabbled in politics, having served as the Democratic Progressive Party's representative in Silicon Valley chapter. And he had also run twice for the seat in Nantou County in central Taiwan. Most recently, he was the chairman for the Star Buck Power Plant from 2016 to 2021, which is one of Taiwan's youngest independent natural gas power plants. So I think it's safe to say that he is an expert in electricity and power and also sustainability. So welcome to the studio, Danny.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Okay, good. I'm very happy to have you here to talk about this somewhat sensitive but very important issue. So
Yes.
Glad to have you.
Yes.
Good. So today we're asking, could nuclear power be a key part of building Taiwan's resilience in the face of a crisis? What has to happen next? But first of all, I would like you, Danny, to briefly introduce yourself. How did you get into the power business?
Yes. I grew up in Nantou, Taiwan. After college, I taught 2 years in junior college before I went to U.S. for graduate school.
Yeah, so that's Texas A&M.
That's Texas A&M.
What did you study?
Electrical engineering. I got my doctorate degree from there.
Wow.
And after I graduated, I spent about 20 years in the high-tech industry in U.S. About 15 years, I was developing wireless chips in semiconductor company. And 5 years, I was in smart metering company doing system engineering and smart grid standards.
Right. What does a smart metering system do?
Well, so to make it simple, we add the communication and sensing devices into the power grid so that we can control and monitor the power grid to make power transmission more efficient. And in case if there is something wrong in the power grid, we can easily identify the fault.
I see. Yeah. So you're making the grid smarter.
That's
the power
correct.
system smarter. Right.
Yes.
And so, well, thank you for coming on to the show. And I think this is nuclear has always been a very thorny issue in Taiwan. So I have been myself an energy and climate reporter in Taiwan for, I would say, 12 years.
Yes.
And, through the years, people's opinion on nuclear power seemed to change.
Yes.
But always, this is a very controversial topic. It's almost religion-like. It's very difficult for people who have different opinions to come on the same page.
Yes.
Could you explain to our listeners who are I think, mostly unfamiliar with Taiwan's situation. Why is Taiwan so anti-nuclear? What's the history?
Yes, I think not only Taiwan, about 10 years ago or a little bit longer than that, the anti-nuclear sentiment is all over the world. Mm-hmm. And because of the accident in
Chernobyl.
Yeah.
That's 1986.
1986, and also the accident in Fukushima.
Yeah.
But Taiwan in particular, the anti-nuclear movement actually is tied to the political movement in Taiwan.
Yeah, it started long before Chernobyl, or maybe around the same time with Chernobyl, right, 1980s. The anti-nuclear movement in Taiwan, I think it coincided with the Chernobyl and democratization movement.
Yes,
right.
Around that era, yes, 1986 and after that. So if you look back for a while, there was a very enthusiastic movement in Taiwan against nuclear power plant. So because of that, as you mentioned, Taiwan went through a couple of different referendums regarding whether to keep the nuclear power plant operating or not. So that's something, because it's tied to the political movement. And at some point of time, some people, within the ruling party, DPP, mm-hmm. they kind of make Taiwan nuclear free as a religious mm-hmm. movement.
Yeah, it's their goal.
It's their goal right. for their whole life.
Right.
That's why, if Taiwan want to change its position, it could be a little bit more difficult compared to other countries.
Right. It's like persuading someone to convert to another religion.
That could be more difficult than
even more difficult than that. So it brings us to today. As we are recording, this is just 5 days after the referendum result was revealed. So there was a referendum in end of August on whether to extend the lifetime of the third nuclear power plant. That's the last remaining nuclear power plant mm-hmm. that Taiwan had, that accounted for about 5 or 6% of Taiwan's power consumption. So this is, I think some people would say, symbolic, because it doesn't really account for a lot of Taiwan's power consumption. But this is a symbolic move. So at the referendum, we saw that over 70% of voters who came out to vote, they supported the extension.
Yes.
Whereas less than 30% were opposed. Were you surprised by the result?
I think I'm a little bit surprised. It's higher than 70%. Mm-hmm. But if you look back, Taiwan has a couple different popular polls mm-hmm. before. Mm-hmm. Actually, right now in Taiwan, the people who support the nuclear power is about 70%.
Right.
So, in fact, I think this is in line with the public sentiment.
Yes. But compared to if we look back 10 years ago,
yes.
would you have foreseen this result?
For sure not.
Maybe the opposite.
Probably not that strong, but could be close.
Right. What do you think was the reason behind the change of public sentiment?
I think there are a couple of different reasons. One is recently there are electricity price hike in Taiwan. Right. And that, that people think twice about nuclear power. Mm-hmm. And,
sorry, you were saying that because nuclear power is considered, the costs are low, so that's why people are more interested in nuclear power?
So that's the people who support the nuclear power
right.
keep on saying. So if you build a nuclear power plant from scratch, the price might not necessarily better than other ways of power generation. But for this case, it is extending the life cycle.
Yeah, okay, I see.
The life cycle of existing power plant. And so a lot of upfront cost you already paid.
I see.
So for this case, the power generation will be much cheaper compared to other ways of power generation.
Yes, yeah. Danny is speaking as a very pragmatic engineer. This is very precise language. It's because these existing nuclear reactors, they have been built 40 years ago. They've been amortized and everything. So if you extend the lifetime, for sure, the electricity bills will be lower. So that's why people are rethinking their position.
Yes. The other thing is because of the development of AI and also the power consumption needed for semiconductor manufacturing, which is a big deal in Taiwan. The power demand in Taiwan is increasing dramatically.
Yes.
So as you can see, some of the famous people like Tong Zhixian, Li Yanzhe, they all against the nuclear power before. Now they spoke out to support nuclear power.
Yeah.
I think this also help people to accept the nuclear power.
Yeah, they changed their mind.
Yes.
So the two gentlemen that Danny mentioned, Tong Zhixian, T.H. Tong, he is the chairman of Pegatron, a major electronics manufacturer, and Li Yanzhe is a Nobel laureate in
chemistry.
Okay, so these prominent people have spoken out in support of nuclear power. And if I remember correctly, their main reasons were on the ground of climate change.
Climate change, that's another reason.
And also increasing demand for electricity because of the age of AI.
Yes.
And you mentioned semiconductor manufacturing.
Yes.
So one of our favorite topics on this podcast is TSMC.
Yes.
I believe from the statistics I'm reading that TSMC alone, this one company, consumes 12% of Taiwan's electricity. And
that's currently, and it is increasing.
It will still increase.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it is still increasing.
Yeah. So I think this is really on a lot of people's minds.
Also, Taiwan's under the threat of China attack, and Taiwan is an island. In case there is a blockade around Taiwan, it poses a serious threat to Taiwan's security and also the energy safety. As you mentioned, 5% of reliable power generation during wartime. It could be life-saving.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So as Danny said, Taiwan is an island. We're independent grid. We're not connected like other European countries to the European grid.
Yes.
And we rely on natural gas. I think natural gas is accounting for 50%, close to 50% of Taiwan's power generation.
Yes.
And all of that is imported.
Yes.
And the storage we have is enough for maybe 10 days?
Yes.
Yeah,
7 to 10 days.
Yes. Yeah. 7 days in summer, 10 days in winter. So that's something that's on people's mind. And I would also be very curious to ask you because you are a member of the DPP and the DPP has been very visibly anti-nuclear. And how about your position? I mean, you have you changed your mind about nuclear in the past decade and how did it happen?
So as you mentioned, my ideology is close to DPP. I was an anti-nuclear power plant before as well. But recently, as you mentioned, due to climate change, currently the most important thing is how to reduce carbon dioxide emission. That's one. The other one is air pollution. You mentioned about more than 40% of electricity in Taiwan is generated from gas-fired power plant. About 40% generated from coal-fired power plant.
Right, still.
So coal-fired power plant not only emits carbon dioxide, it also emits air pollution.
Right.
So if Taiwan want to reduce air pollution, want to reduce carbon dioxide emission, nuclear power becomes an option. So in addition to that, we just mentioned earlier, regarding national security, people in Taiwan and in the US, they advocate nuclear power. They ask the government to extend the license of existing nuclear power plant a lot of times are due to safety reasons.
Right.
So that's also another reason I gradually changed my mind. And in addition to what I just mentioned, people against nuclear power, they always mention the nuclear waste is very difficult to deal with. And we need to have a method to deal with it before we extend the life cycle of existing power plant. But the existing power plant has been operating 40 years.
Yeah, so that's an existing problem.
Yeah, nuclear waste is an existing problem.
Yeah.
So I think if we evaluate the cost and benefit, extending the life cycle of the existing nuclear power plant is more beneficial to Taiwan compared to the cost we need to pay.
Right, right. And you mentioned air pollution. I think from your hometown, Nantou is one of the places that's suffering from a lot of very serious air pollution problems. Right. So we are going to take a short break. When we come back, we will talk about what's happening around the world, why people from Japan to the US to Europe are all rethinking nuclear. Welcome back to the Taiwanology podcast. This is your host, Liu Guangying. Today in the studio, we are talking nuclear energy with Dr. Danny Chang. He is the former chairman of Star Buck Power Corporation. And in the first half of the show, we just talked about how Taiwan's public opinion has transitioned from a largely anti-nuclear to maybe rethinking the proposition. And we would like to bring the discussion under a global context. I have seen, so Danny, correct me if I'm wrong, over the past 10 years, it seems like Japan that has suffered tremendously and very publicly in 2011, the Fukushima Daiichi incident. There was a nuclear meltdown and there were a few deaths and people were displaced. Why is Japan rethinking nuclear now after that terrible accident? So I have read the news saying that Japan not only is trying to restart many of its nuclear reactors, but is also on the way to building more. Why is Japan doing this 180?
Yes. After Fukushima accident happened in March 2011, the sentiment of nuclear free in Japan went to the roof. I was in Okinawa for an international standard meeting.
That day, on the day?
That day I was going to Singapore for standard meeting. But later that year, I went to Okinawa in September that year for an international standard meeting. And I saw anti-nuclear sign posters all over the island. So the sentiment of anti-nuclear went to roof at that time. But short after that, because of once they shut down all the nuclear power plant, they suffered power shortage dramatically.
And very high electricity prices.
And very high electricity prices. So they gradually shift that position. In fact, currently, like year 2023, about 8.5% of electricity used in Japan are generated from nuclear power. And by 2030, they intend to have about 20 to 22% of the electricity generated in Japan from the nuclear power.
Right. So that's in 5 years. That's very fast, actually.
Yeah, that's in 5 years.
All right. And they're going to achieve that by restarting existing reactors.
Yes. And as you mentioned, they also have some planning for nuclear power plant.
I see.
They have a similar situation like Taiwan.
Right.
They import most of their energy. I think that is another reason. In addition to that, if you keep on using fossil fuel like gas and coal to generate power, you will emit carbon dioxide.
I see.
That is not good for export.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So there's climate reasons, economic reasons as well. Right. I see. And I think a very important country that I've been looking at is the US.
Yes.
So I feel like nuclear power is one issue among very few that has bipartisan support in the US.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, the Republican Party and Democratic Party, for different reasons maybe. So there's climate reasons.
Yes.
There is economic reasons. There seems to be support for nuclear power. And why do you think that is in the US?
Yes. So we can take Diablo Canyon
in
nuclear
California.
Pacific coast of Central California as an example. As you know, California is a Democrat-dominant state. So the Diablo Canyon nuclear power plant is going to retire in November 2024. Mm-hmm. And the owner applied for license extension. But it faced social and political opposition very badly due to its Democrat-dominant state. So eventually, in 2018, the owner of the power plant, PG&E, withdrew the license extension application. Mm-hmm. Not long after that, there were wildfires. As you remember, wildfire drought happened in California.
Right.
And it caused a lot of electricity emergencies and also power shortages,
right,
which gave a lot of political pressure on the Governor Newsom.
Right.
So eventually, Governor Newsom, he signaled he's open for the license extension of the Diablo Canyon nuclear power plant privately.
Oh.
In addition to that, there were a group of scholars in both Stanford and MIT. They did a technical analysis. They found out the benefit of extending the life cycle of the Diablo nuclear power plant can save about $2.6 billion for the customer.
Oh.
And could reduce 10% of carbon dioxide emission.
For California.
For California.
Entire state of California. So that's big.
Yeah. So eventually, the California legislator passed a bill to extend, to allow, eventually, the Democrat-controlled California legislator passed a bill to allow the license extension of the Diablo Canyon nuclear power plant in year 2022. So this is an example of how a state government could shift from anti-nuclear to, allow nuclear power plant to continue operating. And in addition to that, as you may know, currently because of the AI development, and a lot of data centers, they require a lot of powers. So within past 1 or 2 years, you can see news, Amazon, Google, they all try to buy power from the nuclear power plant. They even support the nuclear power plant to be restarted and supply the power directly to their data center.
Because data center needs carbon-free 24/7
electricity.
Yeah, electricity. They call it clean, firm energy.
Yes.
Right.
So I think currently, especially after President Trump, they came back to the White House. Right now, the support for nuclear power is very high for U.S. current administration.
I see. So I think the example with the Diablo Canyon is very inspiring.
Yes.
Do you think this kind of reversal can happen in Taiwan?
I think it's possible, but the administration probably needs more patience and to persuade anti-nuclear people. And up to some point, I think the government need to make the decision. I think the government probably need to be a little bit patient. If they think to extend the license of existing power plant is right thing to do. I think the government need to be a little bit more patient to persuade anti-nuclear people. And the cost and the benefit need to be candid, presented to the general public.
Right.
And then, make the move.
Yeah. But then some people, might say that, yes, okay, nuclear power is good, but isn't Taiwan working a lot and dedicating a lot of resources on renewable energies, such as solar and wind? And why can't we ramp that up and fill the gap that nuclear phase out might leave in the power grid? What do you say to that ambition?
Yes, that's a very good question. As you know, since 2016, the government has very aggressive schedule to scale up wind and solar power generation.
Right.
And up to this point, we can see, the goals set in 2016 cannot meet easily.
Which is 20% of renewables by 2025.
By 2025.
Yeah, I think we're falling short of that goal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right now, they push that to year 2026.
Yeah.
But whether that goal can be reached is still a question.
Right.
And that is not only happening in Taiwan. I think any new development in renewable energy, face delays worldwide. So because of that, I think if we can extend the life cycle of existing power plant, the government can buy some time to well plan all the renewable energy development.
Right.
And in addition, we can continue to reduce our carbon dioxide emission.
Yes, yeah. I think right now, at this moment, renewable energy accounts for possibly 12 or 13% of Taiwan's power consumption. Yeah. So it's still quite an achievement, I would say, but the scaling up has been challenging because Taiwan's land areas are very limited.
Yes.
And okay, the next one would be my last question for you. And this is a bit of a hypothetical question. So if we are going to look 10 or 20 years ahead, do you believe that nuclear power should be part of Taiwan's energy mix? Or some might say it's too late to bring it back?
Actually, nuclear power plant 2 and the nuclear power plant 3 are still operable.
Right. So the second nuclear power plant is in New Taipei City on the north coast.
Yes.
And the third one is in Pingdong in southern Taiwan.
Southern Taiwan. So the second one is in northern Taiwan, and the northern Taiwan needs power more than southern Taiwan.
That's true.
So if it keep operating, it will help the power balance and also help the power grid in Taiwan. And of course, if they want to restart, we need to go through thorough inspection and also the regulatory approval. The inspection not only by the Nuclear Safety Council in Taiwan, it also will be reviewed by peers, nuclear expert peers from other countries.
From outside, yes.
From outside Taiwan as well. So I think once the inspection is proven, there is no issue regarding safety. I think the general public need to trust the judgment of the expert.
Right.
So I think extending the life cycle of nuclear power plant 2 and nuclear power plant 3 is still feasible in Taiwan if the public can accept it and the government is going to do it.
Right.
However, I do believe Taiwan shouldn't go through the path to develop new nuclear power plant, especially the large traditional nuclear power plant, because this will face a lot of opposition from the general public. And Taiwan will went to the path with very divisive debates.
Right.
And the social cost of doing that is very high. Economically, we don't know whether we can benefit from it or not. So I think the path to build large traditional nuclear power plant is not something Taiwan should pursue. However, the small modular reactor, which is more flexible, and they also address a lot of safety concern. It's something I think Taiwan need to monitor very closely.
Right.
Once it is technically mature and economically feasible, I think Taiwan can go for it.
Right. Yeah, I think you echo with President Lai, because in his speech, he also said that Taiwan should be open-minded to advanced and new nuclear. Well, he didn't use the word SMR, but I think that's probably what he has in mind.
Yeah, I think that's probably, people also talking about nuclear fusion, but that's something could be
always 50 years down the line.
Down the line. So
Right.
SMR probably is something more feasible in the near future.
In the next decade or so.
Yes.
So Danny, you mentioned the second and the third nuclear power plant, and the third one is the newest one,
Yes.
which only stopped operations a few months ago.
Yes.
And the second nuclear power plant, I think it stopped maybe one year
or
ago?
2 years.
1 or 2.
Yeah, 1 and 2 years ago.
So that's they're all pretty recent and pretty young, only 40 years.
Yes.
Right. So that's something that we can consider. And we'll probably, next episode will be dedicated to SMRs. If we can know more about that, I think that's something that we'll all be watching very closely together.
Yes.
So, well, thank you, Danny, for coming into the studio. We have learned a lot from you.
Oh, thank you for having me here. I really enjoy the topic.
Thank
you. I think you did a very excellent job in terms of hosting it.
Okay, thank you. And you've done a wonderful job as guest.
Thank you.
This is a very controversial topic. I really thank you for accepting the challenge and bearing with me for 40 minutes. And well, thank you again, Danny.
Thank you.
Right. And if you enjoy the show, leave us a review or drop us an email. We'd love to hear from you. To read more about Taiwan's ongoing nuclear debate, visit CommonWealth English website. The next episode will be available September 23rd. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts and stay tuned for more great conversations at Taiwanology. See you next time.
See you.